Hello and welcome back to tutorial 8, if I'm counting correctly. And that is going to be the sort of wet, squelchy bass here. I know it's not that squelchy, but I've got to call it something. It's not the only thing playing right now. Just like the distorted sine bass, it also has some other crap layered with it. Such as this. And then there's also sub, and this solid bass, which I'll give its own tutorial later. But for now I'm going to talk about just this. Now this, again, was... Actually, I don't know if it is again, but whatever. This was a sound I made on its own. It has a project of its own somewhere on my computer, where I was trying to make a growl, and was really depressed at how shite it sounded, because this doesn't sound like a growl, does it? I thought, oh, that's crap. It's useless. But then, later I decided to just slap it into this project. Hence the name, not a growl. Okay, that was an accident. So. This was another example of just randomly fucking around. So, as you can see, I used to use all these operators, but turn them all off for this sound because I decided it sounded better just being simpler. So what exactly is it? Well, oscillator 1 is the chrome wavetable, and the reason why is just because I was going through all of them, finding one that sounded very lovely. Chrome is pretty popular, in fact, so I assigned the wavetable position and the warp intensity and the amplitude all to one macro, so that I could put an envelope on that macro later. I chose bend minus warp mode just because that's what sounds good. If you don't know what bend minus, bend plus, and intensity does, then I recommend you look at Serum because it shows it in a really cool way. And in fact, I used the bend minus mode in Serum for the main growl in this song, so I think you'll be able to see what bend minus and stuff actually does much better there. But for now, just bend minus intensity. In fact, I'll turn off the noise, all these inserts, the effects, the EQ, everything, even the filter. And that's just what the plain old oscillator sounds like on its own. Now, the all-pass filter. Now, all-pass filters are weird, and I can't find an all-pass filter VST anywhere. So if anyone knows where I can get an all-pass filter, that would be great. Because an all-pass filter, I'm fairly certain, it's just a one-stage phaser. So it basically just takes a frequency band and changes the phase of just that band. So that's why it's called all-pass, because it doesn't actually remove any filters. Remove any frequencies, rather. It's not like low-pass, high-pass, where it removes low and high. It's all-pass. It lets all frequencies pass, but just changes the phase of some of them, I think. So as the cutoff, or the sort of band place, moves up and down, it kind of changes the sound, makes it evolve, and it works pretty well on voicey things like growls or whatever like this. So then I turned on some noise just because, and did the amp a little bit, just to make it, one, a little bit fuller, but also to make it sort of, I think when you compress noise, something that's got noise in it, and then you compress it, I think it adds kind of a cool, like, transient. And when you use noise and put an envelope, and I know I didn't do this here, but a good idea is to have noise and have an amplitude envelope that starts high and very quickly gets low, and that makes kind of a cool transient that you can use for some of your like leads, for example. But in this sound I just had noise that goes up and down as you turn the knob. Parabolic shaper, which is basically wave shaper with a parabola shape, and again on the drive, the macro. And frequency shift. Someone please explain to me what it does, because to me, this is magic. Frequency shift is amazing. Maybe I'll find out what it does and do a tutorial specifically on that. In fact, I've got a pen. I've just written it down. That's what I'm going to do at some point. But for now, Brawner Tube distortion, just because. Makes it sound fuller, louder, distortion. You know what distortion does. I don't need to tell you what it is. And in fact, well, that's the sound done as far as I know. Except for some simple EQ. Turn up the high shelf a bit, low shelf a bit, just to ear. And then effects. That's what it sounds like without them. And with them. Maximus, just for compression, just slap it on and bang up this part a bit just to make it, just to compress it a bit. Like I said, compressing noise sounds weirdly good. And then just high passing it, because it's got a separate sub. And I'll probably talk about that later, I guess, in mixing or whatever. But that's it for that sound. And I guess I probably have time to talk about this, because it really is simple as hell. Yeah, I'll talk about this now, because it really is so simple. So I just dropped in Hammer, turned the pitch down an octave because it's a bass and I wanted it to be a bass pitch. Went to harmonic phase and randomly screwed around, just to change the timbre a bit. What else? Bit of ribbon distortion, fuck ton of compression, and what else? EQ, to high pass it, because it had its own sub, and a fruity send. Now I've already talked with the lifters about why you use fruity send and not just straight on here, but I use this just to automate the volume so it shuts the hell up at the end of every note. Just because I thought that this on its own was a bit empty, it needed some oomph, it needed some more layers, like a onion. Shrek would be proud of this bass. Anyway, that does it for this massive bass. Next, I think I'll probably talk about the lasers, actually, which is... the lasers are weirdly interesting. So, I'll be back in about 2 seconds to tell you about that, so see you there.